Hi, I'd like to welcome everybody. I mean, another welcome to Linguistics 11, LO1 summer. I um, made a pre-course video with some questions, interactive questions that you should see appear that I want to by the end of the first day. But it's opened a little early if you want to do it. I'm going to send it with an email um, before class. Don't sweat too much and actually about it. Um, but and actually, part of the video is just like telling you, hey, there's a lot of work here, but it is manageable, and I'm going to work with you to get you through this course, and I think you'll learn a lot and a lot of stuff that's pretty wonderful and pretty interesting. Um, so there are a few kind of pre-course things. There'll be the email kind of announcing the course, telling you about it. I will send this pre-course work um, at little 15-minute video with a few questions. It'll be graded. Can get to way to get to know you. Couple of things like that. But in this video, and there's a whole bunch of directions, and then it'll open up and they'll have interactive questions. Hopefully you do that, and it gives you some orientation to the course, right? Um, Play Posit is probably going to look different for me than you. At any rate, um, do that, do that, do that, and then um, let me introduce you to the rest of the course. So first off, there's kind of two ways you can approach the course or looking at the course. One will be I'll change the home pages on Sundays, and it'll give you, this is the welcome page. So has day one, first time you log in, make sure you understand how to use Canvas. If you have questions, kind of basic navigation. Um, Look at that. You have a link to week one in the modules. I do organize the course according to modules. I just do know that students kind of look at courses in different ways. So if you go to the modules, or you can click on that, well, you got asynchronous office hours. If you have any questions about the course in general, right? Um, that you think other people could answer, um, yeah, you can reply with your name. You can reply anonymously if you want. But if you have questions that you want to be public knowledge, come up here, just hit reply, ask them about the course. If they're more personal, just email me at my work email, morokunemuth at whcccd.edu. Um, but this will always be available. Um, and so that's part of the course. That's something you can look at and something you can use, avail yourself of if you have questions, and other people might have the same question. I ask questions if I don't understand something, especially if I'm in a class or something that's important to me. So don't feel afraid to do that. I've been teaching a long time. It'll be 29 years in August, I believe. I started teaching at Fresno State. English as a second language, and I taught there for a year and a half and tutored there forever. My bachelor's degree is in linguistics. Teaching English as a second language is kind of the specialty, but I had a lot of theoretical linguistics too. Minor in English. I did a master's in linguistics and ESL. I finished that in '96. Then I started to do a teaching credential, single subject English after that, and then started a second master's degree in English literature, especially focusing on the representation of others, specifically Muslims, colonized Muslims, in post-colonial studies, looking at the representations of others in Western literature, from American to French, British, whatever. Um, and I have taught um, ESL for Fresno City College back in the '90s. Had 13 students, 13 different countries of origin of my students in the class. Um, and um, for Madera Center, Madera Community College in the 90s, and Reedley Community College in early 2000s. I taught 2 years in Saudi Arabia. Um, English is a foreign language in a really good school called Ma'had al-Idara al-Amma. Wow, I just said that totally off, but it happens. The Institute for Public Administration. Um, and I taught in Riyadh a year and Dammam a year. Um, Contrary to how I just talked, I can have good pronunciation in Arabic generally. Um, I have taught off and on in high school for about full time, both English language development, ELD, ESL, whatever, and English ninth through 12th grade, you know, for Madera High School in the 90s, for Sanger High School in the early 2000s, and for 14 years for Kalinga High School. Um, so um, I taught a lot of students who were learning English as a second language from a lot of different ages. I currently have taught for West Hills College for this will be 14 years in August. Um, I was primarily teaching English, but I also teach, I teach critical thinking. I'm teaching in dual enrollment in cities like Avenal and Mendota, and I'm teaching linguistics here. This is about my 22nd or 23rd time teaching linguistics, introduction to linguistics, and I love it. It's a really enjoyable class. Online, hybrid, in person, whatever. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to make this brief, but I want some kind of an introduction so you don't feel like, what am I doing here? So if you have questions, this and my email is right there, right at the top when you go to the modules. I do have a discussion board thing. There'll be points for this. I'll probably add in an exercise at some point with this. But if you want extra credit, collective learning, and a shared space for social media reels, memes, GIFs, videos, etc., relevant to coursework. So, what happens as we advance in the course is that people start hopefully looking into linguistics more and start to see, maybe you can subscribe to little linguistics groups or start, looking for linguistics memes or GIFs or um, look for guys or women on. I have both who are linguists that I follow, who are pretty amazing. That I like listening to what they say, whether it's well, general language, language history, the history of words, what we call etymology, all these different kinds of things. And it could be on YouTube or TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So I wanted to one of my favorite that I think you should all kind of subscribe to is a guy named Sun Masho, and he is a PhD, doctor at Harvard, um, and he teaches the Gullah Geechee language. Gullah Geechee is a language that you get it in the Atlantic Sea coast, mostly in the South. Um, that was a combination of English and African languages that enslaved Africans kind of blended with 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 English to create this kind of what they call a Creole, and Gullah Geechee is one of them. And he grew up in this language, and now he teaches it. And just he has a really lot of really dope stuff that he teaches and talks about. So one of the there's no such thing as broken English, only broken rules intended to break unbroken people. And I love what he does, what he stands for, what he speaks out on. And I think So, that's his page. Um, it's really there's so many things in language that are very controversial, that they're very tied to what you could call our hegemonic structures of power and control. When I teach English, I mentioned that English is the teaching of English is a colonial endeavor. We, as an English teacher, I'm regulating how the population sees and perceives language. As a linguist, a lot of times, and it's bringing depends how you teach it. It's bringing the values of the elite, the colonizers, the white settler colonizers, and the elite among them, and imposing them on other populations. That's a historical fact, right? Or else here in California, we'd be speaking, the language of the Yokai. We wouldn't be speaking, English. Um, and it also is, a small minority of elite that are having you teach that, or having you the gatekeepers. So, I make that very clear. That being said, I believe in linguistic justice, and there's a movement for linguistic justice, allowing people to use their dialects, their authentic dialects, and even academic writing. And part of the Puente program has many professors who kind of are endorsing this. But the problem is, of course, that many of our gatekeepers haven't internalized this kind of value system. And so as English teachers, linguistics teachers, whatever, we have a responsibility to help you speak academic English and write academic English as a, survival strategy, right? Um, but you don't have to internalize ain't a word and all these other kind of things that are just nonsensical that a lot of English teachers will repeat as a way of really controlling and creating hierarchies, of value and power. And linguists, one of the important things to understand about linguistics is that we have prescriptivists, and they say, "Hey, your language is sick or it's wrong, and we have to prescribe a cure for it, right? This is the rule that'll cure your wrong English or your wrong whatever language, colonizer language or hierarchical language." And then there's linguists who say, well, every dialect has its own rules, its own vocabulary, its own grammar, its own phonology, its own sounds, and they work as they work. They're complete systems, and we can respect that. We can honor it. We can love it. We can look at the creativity and the greatness and the beauty and all that. And we don't have to say this is better than that. We say this is and that is. They just are. And so linguistics is a different perspective than you're going to get in an English class. And most of you are going to be teachers. Not all of you, but a lot of you in the teacher training program, and you think about teaching. I think this is an incredibly important thing for teachers to learn. There's also I spend hours watching Lang Focus, where this guy, and with my youngest son who's 22, he watches these, and we talk about. You can see all those are viewed, right? Um, about different languages and language questions and histories of language and all of these things having to do with linguistics. So if you subscribe to um, channel like that, you're gonna be learning all the time. Native Lang, they generally have 5-minute little videos here about different um, issues of linguistics, whether it's you know um, oh, there's so many. It's just really interesting. Um, and you know why English is unusual, right? For example, like the th sounds that we have, the th and the, those are only in 5% of the world's languages. They're very rare sounds, and we think, well, everybody should have those sounds. But even in English, how many dialects say them instead of them, right? And you have it, anyway, it's what ancient Egyptian sounded like, they think, what ancient Mongolian sounded like, Chinese, Etruscan. It's a really interesting, and you'll be watching. I have 45 minutes of 5-minute videos on the history of writing in general and all the different places in the world where writing originated, because you probably think of one place when you do that. So linguistics is really kind of a great way to just learn about the world and learn about humanity and find wonder and all that. and kind of, you know, hopefully learn a little bit about colonization and then learn a little bit about decolonization. And so if you find memes, right, you can share them here and make sure they're kind of whether they're appropriate, for school, but they can be funny, they can be edgy, but respectful, kind. I'm the dumbest man alive. I'm a monolingual who makes fun of people's accents. You're clearly dumber. Yeah. Um, some of these just I find, can I come in? I don't know. Can you? Cursing quietly, the vampire backed away, foiled again, yet again, by the English teacher's pedantry. So those were kind of, I find them funny, but this is a article on endangered languages with a graphic of 6 or 7,000 languages in the world. There are half of them are endangered of extinction, right? 3,078, 180 in the United States. Kind of weird they say 180 in the United States, but I think it takes into account that hundreds of languages have been made extinct already. List of unsolved problems in linguistics. What is language? Actually, the first topic we have in linguistics is what is language? How do you define language? Do animals have language? Stuff like that. I got a lot of jokes about prescriptivism versus descriptivism, about colonialism. How do you speak such good English? I don't know. 200 years of colonialism and Eurocentric education. How you know so little about history, right? And this is somebody from the subcontinent, right? So late 1700s. Here's Generation Z speech versus oldie speech. Again, couple of these I don't think we use in the Central Valley. So they are relative to region, even though there's a TikTok leveling effect, right? Where people are, it disseminates through the lexicon, through the prescriptivists, and I love Lord of the Rings. I too many authors cite. This is an English teacher one, no problem at all. Like all your authors, you just put that out anyway. So if you find stuff like this, search for it. It'll be extra credit. It'll be an assignment for 20 points. You have to do one, but if you do more, there can be extra credit. Lots of opportunities for extra credit here, and I think you'll like it. So do have everything broken down by week. So week 1, June 10th through the 16th. Week 2, 17th through 23rd. See, because it's 6 weeks, week 3 is already the midterm, right? So the end of week 3, June 30th, you'll have to have the midterm done. Week 4, July 1st through 7th, making most of it due on the 7th, so it doesn't ruin the 4th of July stuff. I don't know. Plan accordingly. Week 5, and then week 6 is the 15th to 19th, the finals week. There's a lot less stacked there. But you do have the final, and you have some important exercises, especially in endangered language and indigenous history, California genocide, and looking at endangered language. So a lot of my information, there's a lot of important information on the syllabus. I don't want to go over all of it. But you do have my contact information. You do have, this is from the 10th of June until the 19th of July. What linguistics is, as defined by the district. And you will see there's other definitions. This is the main online book we'll be using. We'll be using the old one mostly. They did a second edition, and I want you to use the first edition. That's what I have the lessons. I have the lessons there. And Essentials of Linguistics. There's a drop-down menu to the left, thinking like a linguist, and going from that point. So course objectives, there are a lot, and we're going to go over all of this. I have my equity statement, which I would like you to read. Maybe I should just read over it quickly. Fighting for equity has been a core component of my teaching philosophy in my over 29 years of teaching here in the Central Valley of California and overseas. The curriculum I have developed and the readings and assignments I have chosen in my English classes are all intended to explore inequities and injustices in historical representations of marginalized folks, to critically analyze dominant narratives, and to look at injustices and inequities in contemporary American society with their historical and sociological precedents. The voices I have included in the course are poets, historians, activists, scholars, and leaders of diverse but deep roots here in America. Even if they are or were mostly dissidents, they are among the greatest writers, thinkers, and voices we have in our American intellectual and artistic traditions. My teaching philosophy and methodology in linguistics is also very much grounded in approaching the worlds of language with a spirit of intellectual curiosity, wonder, and respect for diversity in languages, culture, and traditions. We also discuss language and power, colonialism, class, oppression, and the consequences for Indigenous people, hegemonic relationships between different language groups, immigration, and language are very important for ESL pedagogy, especially here in the Central Valley, right? And language endangerment and extinction. Half of the world's perhaps 7,000 languages are in danger of extinction. Although many of the topics we will explore in this class are, though some of them will be relatively apolitical, especially in linguistics. Some of it's not all. But Western linguistics arose as an academic topic in Western institutions that were hegemonically colonial, and as a consequence must be scrutinized for structural racism, as all academic subjects must be. If you are interested in this topic, feel free to download the free PDF of A People's History of Structural Racism in Academia from Administration of Justice to Zoology. So free by Susan Rahman. Every academic subject, when people say there's no such thing as historical racism or institutional racism, I don't even know how they can make an argument of that, because every institution has a history of racism and power and class and power, and it makes no sense because it shows they haven't studied things and are making a false claim. So back up that claim, you could look at it by discipline: administration of justice, anthropology, architecture, art and dance, art and drama, visual, astronomy, biology, business, and you go through it, right? And I know people who may know the authors of this, and I've read it all thoroughly through. I have some critiques and a lot of stuff I could add to it, but it's a good starting off point. I have some exercises later. My respect for diversity. Diversity is wonderful. It's a great way to learn. If you have a diverse, I'm a martial artist. I've been doing 42 years of martial arts. How do you experience diversity, in your life, and what does it enrich in? Martial arts, like all the different traditions I take from and I've trained under, they all enrich me. If it's Japanese, if it's Korean, if it's Filipino, if it's Hawaiian, Filipino, like I do from all those different backgrounds, I've done martial arts. And I have respect for the cultures, the languages, the traditions, culinary, the foods, Thai boxing. I did Thai boxing since 19 under a Thai trainer, and a lot of other things. For me, I'm Muslim, so my religious community is extremely diverse. One-fourth, one-fifth of the world's population is Muslim, and it's everybody. And I love that diversity. Who I've taught, the people of, I've taught so many people from Central South America. My first wife was an immigrant from Egypt. She's Nubian. People with some of the oldest civilization in the world, both Egyptian and Nubian, separately. And I have so many friends and relations, old friends and old relations from Mexico, from Central South America, from all over the world, and indigenous brothers and friends. And yeah, we got to value. It's important to value everyone. Extremely important. So I have some ideas about what they call standard edited academic English versus other dialects and inclusive ideas, though I want you to work on academic English. A lot of my stuff is very straightforward and it's all here, and there's some resources. I did want to say that I do, a lot of people will do this land acknowledgement. I acknowledge that I live and work in the unceded land and traditional lands of the Okat people. That's what a lot of people put on their thing. Well, here's the thing. Most people don't know what unceded means. So like, to cede is to give up. They didn't give up their lands. Their lands were taken through violence, through genocide, and through theft, right? That's Captain Jack, a Modoc chief who fought against the colonizers in the Klamath region of North California. And he was executed, and he fought. They killed some of the colonizers, and they fought them for a very long period of time after years of abuse. And he was executed on Alcatraz Island. This is a great study on California genocide and American genocide, the United States and the California Indian Catastrophe by Benjamin Madley. This is my longer acknowledgement. So I acknowledge that I live and work on the unceded and traditional lands of the Yokut people. It is important to know that before Anglo-European civilization, their population here was in 1848 was 70,000. Because of the extermination policies, they didn't have the word genocide until 1944, when Raphael Lemkin, a Polish Jewish jurist, created people, a group of people, a genus, and side to kill, to kill a group of people. He created that word in 1944. The extermination policies, that's what they call it, extermination policy, of the California government, as clearly articulated by first governor Peter Burnett, with the backing of the US government. By 1880, the indigenous population of the Central Valley was only 600. So here in the Central Valley, as an English teacher, I've had to teach on the European Holocaust, ninth graders, 10th graders, whatever, it's mandatory, 11th graders. I've never been had to teach about Central California and the genocide here. And it should teach the Holocaust, but also I should teach here, right? So within 30 years, through brutality, the scalp bounties, got so much for a man, so much for a woman, so much for a child, Indian man, woman, or child, indigenous man, woman, or child, Yokut, man, woman, child. The population was 600. That's going to be a test question, So that's my, land acknowledgement. We live in a land that has been stolen from its indigenous inhabitants through a deliberate campaign of genocide. And you can't talk about equity or ethics or morality in a society without talking about the fact that the land we inhabit is a land where genocide took place. I gave you the book resource there. Now, if you open to the homepage, just a couple of things. I got my syllabus. You can go right to the week by week. So this course, district mandates that is 162 hours of coursework for a 6-week course. That means you should plan, it's expecting 27 hours of work from you a week. So if you look at this and go, wow, this is a lot of work. That's what's mandated, right? That's what they ask you to do. So what I did for the first couple of weeks, I made links and I say, you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this. A little bit of description of each. But you can also go straight here, week 1, right? I put it up here, week 1, or you can just go to modules, week 1. And a couple of things I want you to notice is that I did put a Kahoot link. Now this Kahoot link, you do have a midterm and you do have a final. The midterm and the final have objective portions, multiple choice portions, and they have essay portions. Essay portions will just be, what have you learned up to this point about linguistics? So no surprise, try to learn something, and then I want you to articulate what you've learned in an essay form at the midpoint, at the midterm, and then the end final. Now, almost all of the other questions on your midterm or final will be found in this Kahoot. And you can play the Kahoot by yourself and practice all of the different. You can practice for all the questions. So we're starting with, what is analysis of structural words, morphology, phrases and sentences and syntax, speech, systems and patterns of speech and sounds. That's phonology, while the basic sound is, the characters of speech sounds is phonetics. Study of meaning of words, phrases, this is semantics. Speaker meaning, practice, what do they really mean? It's pragmatics. Language in the brain. You have two parts. You have psycholinguistics and then kind of the psychology of linguistics, and then neurolinguistics is looking more, you know, on a biological level at the brain. So you'll have to do a little bit of reading of phonetic alphabet, but it's like this says page, International Phonetic Alphabet, and I'll teach you that. Some of the stuff about like a neologism, a new word, how do you make a new word, and a whole bunch of other stuff. The brain, first and second language learning, different accents, different dialects, all these kind of things. The history of English, you're going to need to know what the difference between Old English, Middle English, Early Modern English. Okay. Um, Language teaching methods, right? And then you'll be learning a little bit about the sociolinguistics, social linguistics, language families at the end, right? Afro-Asiatic, um, Austronesian, Indo-European, also proof of colonialism, all this other stuff. Bantu languages, um, Finno-Ugric. I'm half Hungarian, so I put that in because Finland, Hungary, and in the Ural Mountains, we speak related languages. Anyway, so this is something you can use like as a game, and learn. But I'm going to go really quick over the modules and just cut it short. Well, I didn't cut it short. So you got your overview, do the pre-course thing, the the little, like, it's not a quiz. I mean, it has point. Oh wow. Um, so there's a whole series, Crash Courses Linguistics. Really cool. Really amazing. I like to learn in multiple ways, multiple means, and I think most of you would like that too. So I'll have many of these, quite a few of these crash courses, linguistics, and this is a long video. Linguistics is a window to understanding the brain. Where I'll be asking to take notes. I'm not going to necessarily specify which kind. Introductory questions from readings. You'll read in the book, you answer the questions, you watch the videos, answer the questions. Pretty straightforward. So first week, um, it's mostly language. What is language, and what is linguistics, and animal and human language. Second week is phonetics, phonology, grammar, and syntax. Um, Kind of a lot of assignments there. Kind of pace yourself. I'll try to explain them more next week. The midterm is the third week. It's due by June 30th. So you're going to be learning, and you'll have a test June 30th. You can do it as many times as you want. You know, if you write an essay, save it somewhere else so you can use it again, because it'll erase all your previous answers uh, if you didn't save it, it'll be lost. I do have a video that goes over every question on the midterm. Okay, literally, it's a cheat video, and I'm not trying to trick anybody here. So I have a whole bunch of assignments. That week, morphology, which is words and breaking down words into the littlest, well, not the littlest parts of meaning. I shouldn't say that in linguistics, but like words with meaning, morphemes. What do you call morphemes? The part of a word that has a meaning. Word roots, word origins. That's etymology. history of English, computational linguistics, semantics, pragmatics, and critical discourse analysis. Critical discourse analysis looks at language and power. Then week 4, neurolinguistics, psycholinguistics, and we'll start first and second language acquisition. Some crossover, because if you're looking at the brain and how language works with the brain, you're going to also look at the development of the brain and the development of language. You know, anybody who's doing early childhood acquisition, learning about child development, will know that. And there'll be a lot of considerable crossover there. So week 5, second language acquisition, sociolinguistics, sociology of linguistics, language family, historical linguistics. And then week 6, endangered languages, indigenous genocide, and the final. So that's my overview. I'm sorry it took so long. Usually I'll probably make videos that are much shorter. And we'll see about scheduling Zoom if you need that. If you want that, I can do that. It'll be helpful for you every week. Well, nice to meet you. I'm Roku. Stay up. See you. Inshallah. All right.